Hey, hey, ho, ho. Elon Musk has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Elon Musk has got to go. I was thinking somebody's sitting in that car. Hope I don't wake anybody up here from their houses here. Anyway. I don't know. Did I hear that? Was it Elon Musk has got to go or Donald Trump or whatever? Hey, hey, ho, ho. You know, I was thinking about that. I said, damn, I've heard that before. But where did I hear that? And you know, maybe you guys can help me and you guys can find it yourself, but I'm almost positive that comes from the Three Stooges. Some of those old black and white things from the 1930s, I believe. Hey, hey, ho, 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 and they're dancing around the Three Stooges. If anybody finds that, you can post that link on, you know, in the comments. I think that's fantastic. You know, somebody should make some sort of a video about it and put them side by side. Some of these nutcases, you know, that they're. I was thinking, how stupid does that sound? But the Three Stooges weren't doing that in protest. I don't know. They were doing it, you know, is this some kind of a emotional sort of a deal? Somebody, you know, makes you wonder where they get their intellect. Maybe they're watching the Three Stooges and that's where they're, you know, I don't know. Maybe they should watch Homer Simpson make a spice rack or something like that. You guys all saw his spice rack. Anyhow. So, March, 11th of March, it's about exactly 9 o'clock. Temperature is 10 degrees. At least that's what my phone says. I think it's a little bit colder than that. A little bit. Maybe it's 7 degrees. I don't know. It's a little bit, you know, 10 degrees is actually, I feel a little bit of a chill. So, anyhow, Elon Musk, he's in the news, at least what I'm going to put out today. So let's see what we got here. Let's start off with the former governor of Virginia, Richard Black. I think he's also former military, and he's also a very right-thinking guy. And he was putting something out as well. What was it? Oh, about Al Qaeda. That he said it's a proxy of the U.S. military or the U.S. government. Do you really think? Well, actually, it's a proxy of not the Department of Defense, really, but isn't it weird? It's part of the CIA. And then I remember one time somebody was talking about that the United States military has a Navy that has an Air Force. You know, anybody saw Top Gun. And I don't know, might even be possible they have more airplanes than the Air Force. And then you have the Navy also has an army, you know, called the Marines. And then in the Army, I remember when I was going into the Army, they even had some MOSs, and they said that, I don't know if this is true, because there wasn't that many jobs available for that, but they said that the U.S. Army has more ships than the Navy does. But they have all these strange things like that. And then you have an intelligence agency who also has a military, but they use proxy militaries, you know, such as Al Qaeda and ISIS, and who knows who else. And most of you guys that are watching this, you guys know that stuff. I mean, how many times has it been proven over and over? How many people in the government, how many people that should know and do know have actually reported that? It's just incredible. It's just all over the place. So I don't know, I'm not going to be able to duck back here before these people get here. So I don't really like people staring at me. But so let's keep going here. I'm trying to find some places where there's at least not many people. It's actually better when you have a lot of people or you have very, very few people. Whatever. Look at, oh, cat. Love kitties. I don't have any food, of course. It's almost a black cat. Hey. How you doing? Oh, I think I've seen you before. What, your left eye gone, or is it can't see out of your left eye? Somebody's got some food here. He's checking it out. Somebody's got dishes. Like I say here, the Belarusian people, they feed stray animals here. And I've been in countries where they don't. And the animals are all sick. You see dogs without any hair because they're, you know, diseased. And some people, they like to kill the animals just for the joy of killing it. Really terrible stuff. Matter of fact, I had 3 cats, and well, it was a politician. He didn't win the seat that he was trying to go for, and you know, he and his wife were kind of interviewing me a little bit, And I didn't necessarily say I don't like him or nothing. I said I didn't like the government, that he was part of that government. And it looks like he came and tried to kill all my cats. He killed my favorite cat at night. Apparently, I don't know. I never saw the body, never saw anything. And the next night he came and killed another cat, which was the mother, and smashed its head and all that all over. And then so by that time we were keeping our last cat and locking it in and not letting it go out at night. And I don't know. It's a big story. I don't want to get into all of it. You guys don't want to hear it anyway. Okay, let's keep going here. Yeah, Al-Qaeda. Anyway, he was saying, and he was emphasizing, that Al-Qaeda is a loyal proxy of the US CIA and always has been. And since 2011, he said, Timber Sycamore. You've heard that one before. Probably Operation Timber Sycamore. You hear about Operation Gladio, Operation Northwoods, Operation, what's the other one? Blah, 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 blah. All these operations and all this kind of crap. What's the one where they not Gladio, what's the one where they got a hold of the all the media in the United States? I get these lapses of my memory anyway. Maybe I'm getting old. Joe Biden time? I hope not. Anyway, but this whole thing, a lot of it had to do, like I was saying, is like Genie Petroleum, has Rupert Murdoch is on the board, and I think the chairman of that board was the vice president of the United States, maybe after he left office, Dick Cheney, and it was about a pipeline and going through Syria. First they steal Syria's, resources, and then they want to use Syria, to pass through Syria to get it to Turkey, and from Turkey, as you know, Goldman Sachs was involved in that, and Erdogan's son, and and Putin knows a lot about this stuff, but sometimes you have to sort of look the other way and make some sort of deals, obviously, how that works. And anyway, and then when Russia entered this war, they started bombing these convoys of oil tankers, lined up one after the other, and huge convoys going into Turkey to take the stolen, the little bit of stolen oil that Syria had. And but as the United States was there, it was free reign, and you guys, I don't know if you know all this history, like when the United States was supposedly bombing was it ISIS at the time, I guess. They were the people that are in the area, if you interviewed them, they said there was no ISIS there. They were some like rebels there, maybe weeks in advance, and then they all left. So in other words, they were giving them the warning, they got them all to leave, and then the US were bombing the bridges so that their proxy military couldn't. I don't know. I've talked a lot about this. I don't know. You guys might not want to hear this like a broken record of all of this stuff. And Israel is heavily involved, and a lot of this stuff I talked about, even Syria yesterday. This is really terrible. And it's probable that Donald Trump doesn't even know about this, because I saw some tape, and I think it was a recent one, and he's talking about the fact that these people, that the U.S. shouldn't be supporting them, because it's turning out that they're probably far worse than Assad. And I'll tell you what, Assad was not even bad. He wasn't bad at all. Assad, unfortunately, was weak. And, there was some things going on there, but it's not even nothing anywhere nearly as bad as so many other countries. It's like Ukraine, whatever you think might have been going bad in Syria was kindergarten compared to what has been going on in Ukraine for decades. So just to say that. Okay, now let's go on to another subject. So let's see. I think I covered everything there. Yeah, Richard Black, he's I think a senator. He was a former senator from Virginia. What I said yesterday, I think I've said it in a few videos. I haven't really emphasized it too much because I'm not fully in agreement with it, but the Russians certainly are. And the Russians keep saying that, and they keep coming up with evidence, and it's undeniable that it is evidence, And you'd almost have to say, well, they got a point there. But they're saying that this whole thing in Ukraine is run by Great Britain, by the UK. And like I said, I don't really emphasize it because I'm not necessarily fully on board with that. What I've been saying is, well, anyway, I was going to emphasize, and I wrote it here, I just now read, that I don't see any real proof yet. But I'll tell you, it's definite that they have some ties in there. And it's strange, let me put this on in favor of Russia's theory. I don't know if it's even a theory. They act as if it is really beyond theory, and it might well be. But Zelensky, when he left Washington after that debacle with Donald Trump in the White House, he went to not only Starmer, but he got access immediately to the King of England. And the King of England, as you know, long-term ties to the Rothschilds. Macron? He was a Rothschilds banker. And a lot of these central banks, anyway, they're tied together. You guys all know that. Like, I was living in the Caribbean, and the Caribbean Central Bank is tied to the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, and a lot of the times, like, say, Rothschilds elements, they're part of all of these central banks. So this is all sort of interesting stuff, and a lot of people, can draw the dots, connect the dots, that a lot of this all has to do with these central banks and money, and of course it always has to do with money. Goldman Sachs sits in on every major policy meetings in the United States. It's strange. Bankers are sitting there, obviously, and they were the money launderers. I think I just said that in this thing going on in Syria. They got their fingers in just about everything as well. Let's see. But I think this is a product myself, and I've got just as much proof as the Russians do when they say that it's the UK. But obviously, like I said, the UK is involved, but I think it's a handful of and there's probably a lot of people. It's very obvious Joe Biden is involved. I mean, everybody saw some of these meetings and things of the past when he was vice president, and he ordered that some prosecutor get fired because they were starting to investigate the son Hunter Biden, and son of a bastard, they fired him, And everybody was saying that Joe Biden was running Ukraine at the time. He was the president of Ukraine, and too bad they didn't have the Joe Biden that the United States had, which in that mental capacity to run Ukraine. I don't know. Who knows what would have happened then. But obviously the Soros are involved. Remember Victoria Nuland? And she was sharing an office. She's part of the State Department, U.S. government, neocon stuff. And she was like basically sharing offices, or shared the same floor as the Soros, Open Society Foundation. And it was also operating. And George Soros is heavily involved in that stuff. But then again, you think, okay, well, the State Department, they're tied to USAID. USAID is tied to CIA. And a lot of the money went to USAID, and the money from the USAID went into George Soros. I mean, we just found that out recently. Like I said, I've said in other videos, I wonder, well, where does George Soros get all this money? And what benefit is he getting from dumping all this money to make immigrants flood into Europe and flood into the United States, destabilize all these governments and do all this sort of stuff? But I guess he was getting this huge payment from the American taxpayer. Thank you very much. Elon Musk has got to go. So, hey, ho, ho. Okay. Yeah, well, I don't know. Who's the deep state? All of these people together? I mean, we're throwing out these terms. Deep state used to be a shadow government, the globalists, all that sort of thing. I mean, it's just a whole bunch of these people, and they're all just a bunch of greedy well, I don't know. I can say that word, but I don't know. I don't want to upset Christians. Greedy bastards, stealing the money and sending, all of us useless eaters out to die for their wealth and their power and control. Mostly those things are what they really like. But the strange thing is, a lot of times you see Israel's hands tied to a lot of things. I don't see that much of Israel tied into Ukraine. It's very strange. And it'd say, oh, well, Zelensky's a Jew. And, well, a lot of the Israelis, they say he's not a Jew. He doesn't, I don't know. It's just like Soros. Soros is a Jew. Well, Soros, I think he hates Jews as much as he hates Christians and Muslims. So Soros, he says he's an atheist. And remember, he started out his fame when he was like even 5 years old or something, and he would spy for the Nazis and go tell the Nazis where Jews were hiding so that they can go and take them and put them in concentration camps or whatever the deal is. So do you think the Jews would love a guy like that? I don't know. Anyhow, so everybody, when you hear of dastardly people, if they had anything whatsoever tied to Judaism, they're Jews. And I didn't write it down, and I should have, but there was what was the news about Max Blumenthal? It was this. I should have wrote it down. Unfortunately, I didn't. There was there's some agency, and it's also tied to Soros and all that, and but they're targeting all of the people that all of the rest of us like. Their target is Elon Musk, not to kill them necessarily, remove them. Well, they'd probably love it if they got killed too, but one of them, and I guess the number one is Max Blumenthal, even more than Elon Musk or even Trump or anything. They hate Max Blumenthal more than anything. And I don't think this was any kind of an Israeli group, even though if you guys are not familiar with Max Blumenthal, he's the one that exposed that this stuff on October 7th, the 9/11 of Israel, supposedly, when Hamas went in and killed what I think they originally said 3,000 Israelis, and I think the official number is, I think it might be 300 in reality, and of course nearly all of them, if not all of them, were killed by the Israelis themselves. And of course Max Blumenthal is the one that exposed that. But that is big taboo. You're not allowed to say it. You're supposed to say evil Hamas, and they were raping the women and all that kind of stuff. And Israel, but they're very successful. They got thousands of people to cover up the truth. Thousands of them to make sure that people get nothing but the lie, Hamas, they're brutal. And I don't know, who was in those Apache helicopters that burned huge parking lots full of cars, who had flamethrowers on their Apache helicopters? Was that Hamas? Did they have big flamethrowers on these little, what are these hang gliders, that they came in? And I don't know, you guys know the real truth is they wanted to get hostages, Israeli hostages, and exchange them. And of course, Israel advertised and actually provoked Hamas and probably did everything they could to help Hamas to go to that concert. Where these young people were in their concerts, but Hamas was trying to capture people and hold them for hostage and exchange them for Palestinian hostages. And that is about the sole portion of it. And Netanyahu has a big history of supporting Hamas, giving them money and all sorts of stuff. As a matter of fact, the Israelis created Hamas as a counterweight to Yasser Arafat's party, the Fatah party. What were they called? The Palestinian Liberation, the PLO back in those? I don't know, but it's anyhow. So they created it, and Hamas, originally they started out as a organization to further the education of Palestinians, So, and most of them have nothing to do with any ties or anything whatsoever to terrorism. There are even clerics, Muslim clerics and things. And, Israel has killed them too. Like there was some guy in a wheelchair, could barely move, some old guy with a big long beard, and he was leaving a mosque. And there was people, because the services got out. Just say the guy's leaving church, a mosque anyhow. And anyway, the people were kind of leaving, a lot of them outside. And Israel, I don't know if they took a helicopter or a missile, and they bombed and they killed everybody just to get this one very dangerous guy that's, 80 years old, sitting in a wheelchair, and killed everybody. A bunch of collateral damage. I don't know. You know how that all works. So anyhow, but a lot of these people, like I said, that are go back and get myself, as you know, on tangents, but also what I was going to say is this these ties, to the Project Ukraine. This, I said Soros and Joe Biden family. Of course, the UK is involved in it. What about Big Pharma? Like I said, research facilities. That's all I can say. I can't say real proper names for all of this stuff. There's some of those crows. Somebody mentioned, I don't remember the name, but somebody that knows their stuff about these crows, and like I said, they go into the garbage cans and take out all the garbage all over the place, and there they are up there. They're gray, like gray crows. They said they're genetically identical to the black crows. That, like I said, before I came over here, I'd never seen these with gray, black wings, but gray crows. And then when I went to Germany last year, I saw the same sort of crows there. And the person, I don't know who what was it, Silver Hans? I can't remember who the subscriber is that wrote about that. I don't think that he would have remembered about that if I mentioned it when I went to Germany, but he said, yeah, there's hybrids in Germany. And they go, wow, So anyway, very interesting stuff. I'm interested in mostly plants and things, but also animals. I worked in the zoo, remember? So let's keep going here. Stop distracting me. So Big Pharma also involved. The CIA, definitely. A cat running by with a fluffy tail. It looks like my cat. Anyway, okay. Well, that's about it, Like I said, I don't really see Israel's involvement in that. Normally they got, but you know how Israel is. They're very good at sneaking around and being involved in things, and you don't find out till later. I don't know. Okay. Oh, and you all know about, I guess by now you know that this huge cyber attack against Elon Musk's X, it's not even a porno place, but an X anyway, and I guess the IP addresses they found out are coming from Ukraine, and no surprise there. And there are ways to fake an IP address, to maybe even have it in Canada and then make it look like it's coming from Ukraine or something like that. But you never know. You never know. I would bet that it's Ukraine, but it's not really concrete evidence just by saying the IP addresses come from there. I knew a guy, he was in the Bundesnachrichtendienst in Germany, which is like their FBI or something like that, secret service thing, and he was saying, and I've even met other people too, and they said their IP address is in some other place, but they're living like, I don't know, in the Philippines or Belarus even, or whatever. So like some people, we have Sputnik over here. You guys can't get it in Europe, probably not in the United States either, or RT. And there's people over here that have their, like an IP address. I guess you can do it from the search engine Opera. You can change your, I'm not exactly sure, but I can't send them links of news things that come out on Sputnik or RT, because they're using an IP address from somewhere in the West. And of course, all that is blocked in the West. That's freedom of speech, freedom of the press in the West, as you know. Blocking huge amounts of press information and speech is freedom of the speech, just like the democracy you see in Romania. Everybody wants a certain leader, but they cancel the election because they don't like it. And that's democracy. It's incredible. It's just incredible. I mean, all this stuff is not even to be believed, what's going on. So, I mean, it's like, what? Wow, I don't even, you can't even know what the heck you're doing putting up news when all of it is contradictory to whatever these people say. Like Ursula von der Leyen, freedom, democracy, and all that. Oh, I didn't write it down, so I just remembered this at the time, but there was some place, and people are really scared that, and I think it's in the European Union, about their money getting taken from the bank. And I was mentioning that even months ago. And that's one reason I had some gold over there in Germany. And a lot of things were getting pretty bad. Basically I had to take the silver, and even though the price of silver went went 33% higher, I lost from when I put it in originally, because one is the tax from the government, and then the people that had the firm were charging way too much for the vault fees. So it's like 20% of the value of the silver is their vault fee every quarter. It's almost like after 1 year the entire value of the silver that you have there is taken away in vault fees. And say, what's the point? You know, it's anyway. So I lost. You know, that's the short of it there on the silver. And then I decided, well, this does not look good, especially after what Ursula von der Leyen said. So cashed out on the gold and barely made that too. When I was in Germany at that time, the computers were down, and I was on the last day, and you could only take out a certain amount of money that you see. I think we transferred it online from here and had it put into our bank account. So we sold it to the firm, you know, took it out of the vault and had them like send the money of what the value of the gold was. So it was there, and but the computers were down. And luckily, they came back up, you know, I mean, on our last amount, and we luckily got the last bit on, what is it, like a couple hours before we had to leave and go to the airport. Talk about by the skin of your teeth. Okay. So, what else? Anyway, Elon Musk was saying on this cyber attack that it was like a government or somebody really powerful, and it needed a lot of computer terminals and things to launch such a huge cyber attack. They had to have tremendous resources to do that. So that makes sense. Then he said it was like a government. And then afterwards, maybe the next day, which was whatever, later on in the day, he was mentioning that it was coming from the IP addresses, based on the IP addresses that was coming from Ukraine. Yes. And now we're sitting here. This is the days, and I think even today something's supposed to happen with some sort of negotiations in Riyadh between the United States, you know, not their proxy, but the real people that started the behind the war in Ukraine. And that's another reason why it's kind of like very strange when you think about if UK is involved, then they would be sitting in that seat. So I don't know. But anyway, the US, for the most part, was paying for the war anyway. They're the ones that financially run the show on the one side, and then there's Russia on the other side. So that's where whom that are conducting the negotiations. But isn't that strange? Zelensky happens to be in Riyadh on the same time. I've been saying that in a lot of videos, that whenever there's some sort of a big meeting between some important people and governments and stuff, Zelensky just happens to be in the neighborhood every single time. I mean, it's like, well, I just happen to be here, and I knew you guys were me, so I just thought I'd drop in. Or I mean, you guys are inviting me in because, you know, I'm so handsome, and yeah, people fall at my feet because I am the big Z. So, you know, you saw people kissing my feet. You saw how Ursula von der Leyen, Baerbock, Kaya Kallas, Victoria Nuland, they were throwing their undies at me. Yes, I caught their underwear, and yes, I had to call it off after Victoria Nuland threw hers at me because anyway, I can't say that on camera, but you guys all know that. Ooh, Zelensky! Ooh. Okay. But anyway, when I look at what Russia has been putting out and what United States has been putting out, it's kind of like, I don't know, and they were supposed to be, I guess, just restoring relations. I guess the last time they had that meeting, and some guy taking a leak over there. Oh, you guys didn't see it. You know, reestablishing diplomatic relations, and you know, then you had this minerals deal, you know, between Zelensky and Trump. But you would think that even in the course of this time, which you would know that in the course of time over these past weeks, that they would have been at least hashing out the macro ideas about what would be contained in a peace, you know, between, say, all of the parties involved, which is mostly United States and Russia, and the tools, which is Ukraine, and maybe some of the little, you know, puppet states like Great Britain and all that. And you would think that would be all hashed out. And it's like when you hear what Mark Rubio is saying, and sometimes even from Russia, it's like they haven't really even talked about it. And Russia is, I think it was Putin just another couple of days ago, is saying, well, it's going to be done on Russia's terms. And Mark Rubio, and a lot of the people in the United States said, well, Ukraine is going to have to cede some territory. And then, of course, Zelensky, he has been, at least lately, been saying he will accept nothing short of a complete, he didn't say it in those words, but his PIS plan, his PIS plan, the PIS plan is a complete and total surrender of Russia, huge reparations costs, Putin goes to jail, and Ukraine gets all of that territory back, probably parts of Russia as well, like a total surrender. We're winning after all, supposedly. So, yeah, but, what I forgot to mention when I said all these people involved in this thing about Ukraine, I didn't mention the corporations, Big Pharma I said, but Monsanto, you got, of course, CIA and all that sort of thing. So anyway, sorry to interrupt, but all this stuff between these negotiations, it's like they haven't even talked about this. And like I'm saying, well, what more, it's like, I don't know. In my opinion, and I've said this before, Ukraine has lost their right to govern over those people when they're bombing them. They were bombing them for 8 years. And remember, the same kind of people that run the government in Ukraine, and I would even now include Zelensky in that, are the same ones that burned those people alive in Odessa in that one building. Knowingly burned them alive, and they're going around butchering all sorts of people for the mere crime of being ethnically Russian and not subjecting themselves to become the slaves of the master race of the Ukrainians, like that, one ring to bind them all. So, yeah, but, okay, what else was I going to say? Well, it's mostly a lot about this. It's because to me it makes no sense. None of this stuff makes any sense. And there's the major reasons about why the war started, and you guys all know those. It's Russia's security and the United States basically ignoring them and flipping them the little finger and say, here's your security, and we're going to keep pushing NATO, and and they've even come out and said we're going to put NATO wherever we want to push NATO, and you can just shove it up your backside. Take the little finger there, Russia. It's all of a sudden getting very active. Lots of people coming by here. Some weird lady coming with a cigarette. Let me see, where do I point this camera? Something a little bit more interesting for you guys. You guys can look at that, whatever it is, that mom's car or something. But, okay, let's see. Well, anyway, Trump is a little bit more aware than what Biden was. I don't know, Biden, who knows what planet he was on anyway. I mean, why would a person go out of their way to start such a thing? I mean, you'd have to have some kind of dementia or something to be something mentally wrong with you. And, but what point I really wanted to stress was, if you look at how a lot of this stuff started anyway after the collapse of the Soviet Union, then you hear, how much did, you can say, Russia lose? Russia, basically the biggest country in the Soviet Union, they lost all of those states. They lost Hungary, they lost, all of huge amounts. So technically speaking, if you want to talk about territory, that were under their, I don't know, you want to call it umbrella or their jurisdiction or whatever, like the United States has their states, and Trump doesn't seem to be so much interested in Europe anymore, but that's one of them. Anyway, but Russia had theirs, and they lost all of them, and the West promised not 1 inch eastward, and they kept stealing all these countries anyway. So now they got right up against Russia's border, and they already partly are anyway. They own Estonia. Estonia is nothing but a rabid little chihuahua, that's got rabies, and and they think they're a great power. It's like they're a great power as long as the United States and all that is. Just think if the United States abandons Estonia, who knows what they're going to be doing? They're going to be looking for somebody to cover their backside. I think they're. I think they're what is it? Their military is about the size of a battalion or something. Okay, but okay. But you have some of these countries such as even like Slovakia or Hungary, and they're just hanging on a thread because the West as you see the European Union, NATO, they're really desperately trying to suck these countries out, to overthrow them and put in their puppet leaders. Look at Romania. They're hanging on by their skin. You guys see that. Even Georgia, for the most part. They had Georgia. The West had Georgia. And George Bush under Saakashvili, remember, they attacked South Ossetia? They wanted to take Abkhazia and all that, keep expanding and expanding. I mean, the guy, Saakashvili, the guy that used to eat his ties, and then he became the mayor of Odessa, of Ukraine, and then they kicked him out of there, and I think he's still in prison in Georgia. Massively corrupt guy. I think a Yale graduate. A lot of these puppet guys anyway. Moldova, look at that. They cheated big time on that election. And they're trying to even more massively cheat on Romania. It's just incredible. Basically nullifying democracy. And you guys can look online, and you can, I think Emil Kosman, look at Emil Kosman. He's from Romania, so he probably understands a lot of this much better. And, well, Western Ukraine, anyway, you guys know, is they're controlled by a bunch of rabid Nazis anyhow, and sadly enough, it's been like that for many, many decades. So, and these Nazis, they have this goal, is to drain as much money from everywhere and anywhere from anyone as they possibly can, massive amounts of Rolls Royces and properties and things like that. That a lot of these billions of dollars that have been stolen from the American taxpayers and world's taxpayers have been going to these Nazi people. Everybody knows that. That's nothing but an established fact. And it's like I said yesterday, it's a big question on how much money does Zelensky really have. So, they hide their money, they put it in these accounts. Zelensky is no dummy when it comes to finance and hiding money and things like that. I mean, if you grew up in Ukraine, you know how the corruption game works. I mean, most everybody there does. Even if the most innocent people at least know how it works. I'm not saying that all of them are corrupt, but at least most of them know how that works. You guys are really interested in me, so I'll just walk this way here. But Russia, I think they're seeking to rescue the parts where the majority of the people are ethnically Russian. And of course, you've heard from Medvedev, who was formerly the president of Russia, and he was even talking about Kharkiv and Odessa. I think he might have even mentioned Kiev. Kiev was normally always under Russian influence as well. And like I said, the Nazis, mostly they had that area west. They had the area west of Kiev. So Kiev was, and maybe most of the people, maybe they still are, maybe, I don't know, who knows how well they brainwash these people, but they might still be pro-Russian. At least some of them are. And believe it or not, a lot of people would be scared crapless to come out and admit that, because then you're targeted for getting killed or something, like a lot of the journalists were already. Journalists, you're not allowed to say anything positive about Russia anyway. I mean, it's even to a large extent like that way in the West, as you guys know, from the Baltic states and all that. Anything that's pro-Russian, boy, you better watch out. So keep your mouth shut. I would recommend that to everybody. If I was there, I would probably keep my mouth shut too. You certainly can't make videos. And I think I might have mentioned when I tried to cross the border, they were asking me if I'd been to Ukraine, which means, I don't know, does that mean Donbass or does that mean the other Ukraine? And if they'd been to Donbass or whatever, then I don't know, maybe they wouldn't have let me cross the border into Germany. It's I had the top guy from the border crossing, the, what do they call, immigration guy or the customs guy or whoever it was, whoever runs the border there, for the side of, at that time it was Latvia, yeah. So, boy, I went through Lithuania as well on one time. Didn't have much problem there, but anyway, they took me into a room, he and I alone, and he interviewed me. He had a camera on, things like that. So let's keep going here. I don't think, Zelensky, like I said, he found himself magically, just out of coincidence, He happens to be in Riyadh as well. Coincidence, you guys know. It's just coincidence. It's really strange that how these coincidences work wherever there's these big meetings. Zelensky happens to be there, but apparently Rubio says Zelensky's not himself is not going to take part. He's got his people that are assigned to do this, and but Zelensky. Obviously, they're going to be conferring to him every break, everything going back to Zelensky or whatever. And it's a known fact that just before this meeting, I think just yesterday or no, day before yesterday, he rushed to the UK, which he always is doing, and he gets his marching orders from Starmer, who might get it from Charles, who might get it from the central bank. You never know who are the men behind the curtain. I don't know. I don't think most people do know. But anyway, he's getting his marching orders from there. Who knows, was Boris Johnson or was it the USA that told them to scuttle the peace deal back in 2022? Nobody really knows for sure. But anyway, okay. But anyway, that's as far as that one goes. I'm almost done here, by the way. I said I was going to say something about Elon Musk. You know, he's really shocked. I'm shocked, and I get my shock from Elon Musk. You know, when you're uncovering all of this financial crap, this fraud and the stealing of money, and all of this stuff that's going on in the United States, because he's this head of a doggy or dodgy or whatever. You know, Elon Musk has got to go. Hey, ho ho. But he's talking about, like, there's, you know, he did before 20 million dead people getting benefits from Social Security. You know, there's more than that, like a submarine thing I keep stressing about. But he's mostly talking about how the Democrats were using a lot of this stuff, you know, and for, you know, the stealing the money and all that for illegal immigrants, and how they're, you know, like they get them over across the border and they put them in the luxury hotels as far away even as New York. They ship them to New York and they're basking in luxury hotels, and of course they, you know, he says that they're buying voters, and that's been put out for years, that the Democrats. So you come up with some real crappy program, I guess, or platform, you know, like LGBT and all this kind of crap, and then you start creating voters. So you make people feel that they want to become transsexuals and things like that. You're a female, but you really want to be a male, and your kids do too. So let's, I don't know. I don't understand it all myself, but that's how they were creating voters. I mean, it's very easy to figure out how they're creating voters from the migrants, of course, creating them. So yes, but no voter ID laws, you know, like in New York. The most populous place is New York and California. In other words, it's just like back in the Hillary Clinton days, you know, you can go up and you can vote 8 times for Hillary Clinton. And that was I think it was even in Missouri and all of this place, you know, and they had bus trips. They paid for the bus rides, of course. So you can go on a bus and you go from one polling place to the other, and you're supposed to be voting. And people said that, and they've admitted that. And it's really strange that this stuff happens in the United States, and everybody knows this stuff happens, and it's admitted to, you know. But anyway, they take these buses, and you go from one polling place to another polling place, and then people are coming out and even bragging, I voted for Hillary 8 times. And, you know, and then they talk about vote cheating in other countries where there's no evidence that there's been any vote cheating, you know? It's just boggles the mind. Vote cheating, stealing money. Gosh, I'm telling you, people, you can see why I came over here. You know, I mean, sure, they talk about, oh, he's an authoritarian leader. And sure, he's maybe an authoritarian leader. But, you know, one danger is if you get an authoritarian leader that is one of these people like Biden, or some of these like Soros or something like that, these people who are out, basically to game the system, to get rich, get control, get power, to be the master of the universe. Zelensky, for example, stuff like that, you know. Or you can get somebody, for example, like Lukashenko. You know, he says he doesn't need a lot of houses. He doesn't need any of this sort of stuff. He doesn't need a yacht, you know. He's got a house in Sochi, he says, And the one he stays here belongs to the government, belongs to the country. So he probably has a house here, and he probably has a house down there, but I think he's probably staying in some presidential place. It's the same everywhere else. I tell you what, I've been in small, poor countries where the leaders, they get more than the president of the United States as their payment. And they're, you know, like in the United States, you're not supposed to accept gifts and presents. Well, these people do. And I've seen it with my own eyes. You see them accepting these gifts. And I can tell you a lot of stuff. And it's just incredible. It's just incredible. And they don't even talk about these people as being corrupt. But, you know, anyway. But Lukashenko, you know, the problem, as far as they are concerned, is that they can't buy him, and they can't control him. And his priority, I think you see his priority in life, is to do his job correctly, and it's to take care of the country. You know, and that's what he's here for. And then they have these big mass campaigns. You know how the United States does this, and they use media and all that. I mean, it's obvious, and it's a very well-known fact. You know, Radio Free Europe, Voice of America, all of this stuff, and many, many more. And it's still going on. I've seen advertisements, believe it or not, I've seen it with my own eyes, in English, by the way, and they're advertising for Belarusians to go do training in, I'm not even sure exactly if it was Latvia, one of the Chihuahua states, to go do training on how to conduct protests. To protest against the government of Belarus, obviously. In other words, why would they be using Belarusians? You know, they could be getting them from some other place. Anyway. So, it's really weird. How come Lukashenko and Putin don't do that? To get people, to teach them how to do protests. Anyway, I got something to throw away here. Look at this, an orderly garbage can. You even have a window here, so you can sit back there and sell drinks. Sell shawarmas or something that people didn't finish eating when they threw away in the garbage can. Anyway, well, that's about it, people. And I got, unfortunately, you know, school is later up. I hate these commitments. I'll tell you what, this weather's getting much better. I'd love to travel around and start doing maybe some travel videos and all that sort of deal. And well, like I said, I got school. I'm doing this video right as this 47 minutes. And YouTube, they take like 5, sometimes 6 hours to upload these things. I'm using my cell phone, and I go to school, you know, and you have like a translator thing, you know, Yandex or Google Translate or whatever, and I can't use my phone. Nothing works while I'm uploading a video onto YouTube for 5 friggin' hours, a half an hour video. You know, they're looking at every single aspect. You know, I don't know what the heck they're doing. Is it algorithms, or do they have a bunch of people watching my videos or certain people's videos and saying, is this something that we can take the guy down for or not? I have no idea. You know, you think that, oh, computers, you know, they work quickly and all that. You know, algorithms, whatever the heck. Well, how come it friggin' takes 5 or 6 friggin' hours for 40 minutes videos to upload? You know, I can send a video, you know, I can like make a video of myself and send it to somebody, you know, like 10 minutes, and it takes like 10 seconds to send it to somebody on Telegram or whatever. I don't know, you know, 5 hours. Anyhow, that's my rant on that, and hope you guys like the information. You know, I mean, I try to consolidate a lot of things, and let me know, you know, because I sometimes think, you know, not many people, I'm not getting any real new subscribers. Obviously, very obviously, my channel is suppressed, and I'm wondering, well, what's the point in doing this kind of stuff anyway? You know, you get 50 views and all that, and some people that have really stupid stuff, and they get 1,000 views, and it's, you know, a guy throwing his garbage away, and, you know, I don't know, maybe people just hate the news that much. Maybe I need to, you know, get one of those little mechanisms that have fake farts or something like that, and I don't know. Hey, you know, I'm thinking maybe I can wear my birthday suit and run around town and have somebody film it and see if a lot of people like that. I have no idea. Okay, well, instead of stretching this thing out, it's like over 49 minutes now. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one. Like I said, push the like button for sure, at least. So at least I know what's going on here. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.